Hello, welcome back to the debate. Ray Parlour and Steve Sidwell are here. We're going to talk Manchester United and Ole Gunnar Solskjær next and his plans to try and get them back on track. It hasn't gone well for him since he signed the contract. However, we do have to qualify that by the fact that they've played Barcelona twice. Yeah. So they've been difficult fixtures in that, but it does also include the defeat by Wolves, and it feels as though it's sort of, if not come off the rails, but it's just stuttered slightly for him.
He's stuttered, there's no doubt in that. But I think they definitely made the right decision to give him an opportunity. Big rebuilding needed. He knows that. Mike Phelan knows that. The club know that. And it's all about recruitment now. You know, they'll be looking to try and get a few players out, whether it's Sanchez or people like that, move them on and get people who are hungry to play for Manchester United. And you know, I'm sure Ole Gunnar Solskjær knows exactly what sort of players he needs. Mike Phelan as well, a very experienced manager, worked under, obviously, Sir Alex. He knows the players they need as well. So, big rebuilding programme for Manchester United, but they've got the power. They've got, you know, one of the biggest clubs in the world. They've got the finance. So, you know, it'd be interesting to see who they go for and who they get rid of as well, because there's a few players, you know, always Pogba comes into it, whether they move him on, is he a Manchester United player going forward? So some big questions to ask for Manchester United.
We'll come back to Paul Pogba shortly, but just when you brought up Mike Phelan there, we had a tweet in asking if you think there's anything behind why Mike Phelan hasn't signed a permanent contract. Is Woodward to blame in all of this? Poor recruitment and decision-making, vetoing previous scouts' recommendations on De Ligt and De Jong, and going for just the big names. And we don't know if that's actually what's happened with Ed Woodward, but he is someone that has a difficult relationship with the Manchester, or certainly in terms of what the Manchester United fans' perception of him is. But the question of Mike Phelan's contract is one that, before you even start to get rid of players or bring players in, you need to know who's going to be doing the negotiations and who's going to be coaching them. Yeah,
100%. And that, you know, he's a big part of the success of Ole Gunnar. You know, along with Michael Carrick, he's been very shrewd in bringing Mike Phelan in, and it was key because it was all about the philosophy, bringing the DNA back to Manchester United. Obviously, that had been lost with the previous three managers, and the players had lost their way. Now it's about bringing that sort of alignment together. It's not just about players and coaches and manager. It's all the way through to the very, very top. It has to be an alignment down the middle. They talk about maybe even a technical director going in there now.
Well, Van der Sar was mentioned, who's been very, very well.
Someone that will know the DNA.
Yeah, they know exactly what Manchester United, how it runs, and what sort of players they need. And what a job
do you think they're going very well for him at Ajax?
Well, I'm sure they'd be looking at a few Ajax players, maybe. And sometimes when you bring in people like Van der Sar, who's got experience and the young players at Ajax might look up to Van der Sar, and that could be a massive plus point if you did get someone like that, because they know they can trust him, they know what he's going to say to them, that what the club's all about, and you know, maybe that's where they go, and that might be the angle they go for.
So they have to start by looking at the top and making sure that they have a plan. Have they almost knocked their plan off course by appointing Ole Gunnar Solskjær? Have they changed? When you look at the managers that came in, David Moyes came in with the seal of approval from Sir Alex Ferguson, but then very much did things his own way in charge of Manchester United. And then previous managers, the subsequent managers, Louis van Gaal, Jose Mourinho, have been of a type to have had success. So to go back to somebody who knows the club and is very much at the beginning of his managerial career seems like another turn again.
I think the start he had was so impressive that I don't think they could even think about whether they had talks with their agents behind the scenes, whether other managers were involved and they maybe weren't available. But the start he had at Manchester United was superb. I mean, to win the first 6 away games, you know, equaling or beating Sir Matt Busby's record was amazing. So I think they come to a situation where they had to give him the job. And I think the Manchester United fans, they could embrace a player that has been brilliant for the club itself. So they've got to give him an opportunity, but it doesn't always work out. But they've got to give him an opportunity.
It wasn't so much a question about whether they were right to do it, but more the fact that does it mean that the club now have to change the way that they're planning to go forward?
Well, yeah, the proof was in the pudding, because obviously at the start, when Solskjær took over, it was about, he was very clever in his press conferences, when let's put the smile back on the faces, let's just get him enjoying himself. Then after a while, you look at how the sort of ruthless side that he had in him Fellaini out the door, right? You're not for me. You're not the way we're going to play football. So you're not going to be a part of this system and the philosophy that we're going to want to play on the front foot and dictate play. We're not going to sort of go route one no more. So he had that ruthless side of him, and them conversations would have been had and held with upstairs as well to say, look, if he's out, what funds are going to be coming in, you know, for the long term as well. And
I'm sure Sir Alex would have been involved in a little bit of that. You know, he's sort of...
We see him around the team a lot more, don't we?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think Ole Gunnar Solskjær really looks up to Sir Alex and will ask him lots of questions, where the other managers, Jose Mourinho, probably wouldn't want to do that because he knows he's a successful manager. He's gone, he's played his part for Manchester United, but now it's about me. But Ole Gunnar Solskjær is a little bit more open-minded. Yeah. And you can see him on the bench when he talks to Mike Phelan, you can see him talking to Michael Carrick. You know, he's feeding off everybody to make the right decision.
As you said, Paul Pogba, one of the players that is always mentioned in terms of any potential summer clear out at Manchester United. It would certainly be a headline-making decision if they did that. But we had a tweet in asking if Man United should rebuild the team around Paul Pogba or should sell him if the rumoured bids come in the summer.
Well, it's all about money again. You know, if they can get the right bids in, it'd be very hard to turn down. But certainly Ole Gunnar Solskjær, who managed him in the reserves, knows how to get the best. And you see the performances level go up so high after Jose Mourinho left the club, which sometimes you look at it and say, that's not a good thing, really, because he's not playing for the shirt, he's not playing for the supporters, he's not playing for himself. He wants the manager out of the club. But you see the difference he's made. Over recent few weeks, he's just been off the ball a little bit. You know, when you're wanting big players to turn up in big games, he hasn't really done that, especially against Barcelona. He wasn't two of his greatest games. And that's what decisions they've got to make. What sort of money he'd be worth now, I don't know. What sort of clubs will come in for him, be interesting to see. And what financial backing has he got from the club, Ole Gunnar Solskjær? If he has to maybe sell a few players, I'm sure Alexis Sanchez is one. They need to get off the wage bill as well. So you might see a few changes. And going forward, they really have to identify what they need to get back into that, not just the top four, it's challenging the likes of Manchester City and Liverpool at the moment.
I don't think they're a million miles away from it. I think they're sort of four top-class, world-class players. You know, they need to sort out the keeper situation to go. I know obviously he made a mistake the other night, but you look at him consistently over the last 3 or 4 years. I think he's been player of the season for them 3 times out of 4. So they need to sort that one out. But more importantly, they need to get a centre midfielder. They've just lost since Michael Carrick's gone. We know down the years, Man United have always had a top draw centre midfielder that has dictated their tempo, the way that they play, the speed that they play, and that's what they've been missing. They need to get one of them in and really sort of lay the foundations down for the rest of the team.
And we also talk about Liverpool, Arsenal trying to get into that top 4 to, you know, trying to get the right players in. Manchester United in that situation as well. They're probably the outsiders to get into the top 4 at the moment. So a lot of work still to be done, a lot of games to be played. They'll be hoping that maybe Spurs drop points and Arsenal drop points with the Europa League, which gives Manchester United a chance to still get in that top 4.
So big things, big changes on the horizon for Manchester United. They've sorted out who their manager's going to be, but changes needed right through the club. And in terms of the playing staff, players going out and players coming in as well.
I think starting from the top is the most important thing for Manchester United. What way they're going to go with the club itself. I think they've got the right manager in now. That he needs to be backed and he needs to have a real identity where they're going to go from going forward, because it's changed so much under Jose Mourinho, Van Gaal you mentioned. They need to get their Manchester United back, which they did, what the fans were singing, but now they need recruitment and the right recruitment, which is going to be the most important thing for Manchester United going forward.